David, bless this beat.
done anything to the beat. All I've done is just leveled everything and pan stuff left and right. The majority of the beat was made using the Amp Beats drum kit. This has like some dope West Coast sounds. It's one of my go-tos. What we're going to be doing is I'm going to be mixing this beat using nothing but stock Logic Pro X plugins, as well as other free plugins you could pick up online. One of the first things I do when it comes to mixing beats is I like making sure everything is routed correctly. So for example, I always make sure all my loops are routed into one bus, and that's bus 1, and then I label it. So if I were to solo everything out, it would just be the loops here. When I was making the beat, I made sure to route everything to bus 4, and then from bus 4 I created everything into a track stack. Whatever I do to this one channel strip is going to do to all the loops. And then if I want individually, I could EQ and compress individually each track. I do the same thing with the drums. I route all the drums into one bus, and I just call it the drum bus. That way when it's time to compress the drums, I just compress this one drum bus, and I could individually EQ and do more effects. And as well as the 808, I have the 808 routed into bus 3, play solo. That way I only have 3 faders that I'm working with. I have the loop, the drums, and the 808. First thing we're going to be doing is we're going to be mixing the 808. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to EQ the 808 using a mono. With the channel EQ strip, what I did is I just cut out some of those high end, and then I just cut out a little bit of the low end around 25 hertz. From here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to use another EQ, and I'm just going to use this tube EQ. Tube EQ, what I did is I boosted up this 30 hertz around 3.5, and then I added a low attenuation at around 1.5. That way it just kind of balances out the low end. And then I did a dip at around 200 hertz. That way the kick is able to come in a little bit more. You kind of just cut out those frequencies. On the 808, I'm also going to be using the Slate Digital, just the free plugins, Revival and Trimmer. I like how this thickness just really beefs up that low end of the 808. Compressor, I'm just going to be using a regular stock Logic Pro X compressor, and what I'm going to be doing with this compressor is I'm going to be using it to sidechain it with the kick. That way they don't clash. To do that, I'm just going to go to sidechain, go to instrument. Usually when you make the beat, you have everything labeled, and that automatically routes it. So whenever the kick comes in, the 808, this compressor, what it does, it kind of just ducks it down and allows the kick to come in. The cool thing about these Logic Pro X compressors is that you have about 7 different options, and each one of these compressors is going to add a different noise to the 808, a different color to the 808. And some compressors are going to make the 808 sound good, some are not. It's just a preference of how you want the 808 to sound. is I added a 3.5 ratio. I added a little bit of makeup gain just to really hear the pump between the kick and the 808. And then I added a threshold of about -5.5. I did like a medium attack and a fast release. That way, when the kick punches in the 808, it does duck down a little bit, but it also allows the kick to come in and then it just releases back down. What I did here is I went to the sidechain option. I added the filter on. I put the frequencies around 7K just to allow more of that kick to punch in, because that's what's going to shake the speakers up a little bit. And then I added a Q, just one, kept the gain regular. And you could hear it, like right now when I play this, you hear the kick and the 808 and they're fighting for those frequencies. But when I turn this sidechain on, now that I have that sidechain, I'm going to add another compressor. The compressor I'm going to be using is this MJUC Junior. This compressor gives it like a vintage feel to those 808s. And what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to keep the time consistency at fast. Add a little bit of compression. Add some makeup gain. So all I did with this compressor, I added the time consistency at fast, added just a little bit of compression, and then brought back up the makeup gain. That way just the compressor gives it the color. And then from here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to bus some saturation onto the 808. So I'm going to create a new bus track, a bus track 15, and I'm just going to label this sat. And from here, what I did, I just added distortion to, added this growl, and then just bust it into it, kind of balancing it out. It just makes the 808 sound a lot fuller. Now that the 808's pretty much mixed, what I'm going to do is I'm going to move on to the kick. What I kind of do is just I move from low frequencies all the way back up to high frequencies. For the drums, what I'm going to do is I'm gonna re-level everything. Now that I kind of have the 808 down, what I like doing is I kind of like re-leveling stuff as I mix. For the kick, what I'm going to do is I don't really do much to the kick except just do a little bit of EQ, and then I send it off into the drum bus. So I'm going to add a tube EQ. I'm going to go to around 100 hertz, and I'm just going to boost up that 100 hertz just to add more punch onto that kick. I'm going to change this output model to punchy. And that's all I'm going to do to that kick, is just add a simple EQ, and that's all I'm gonna do for the rest of the instruments. Is I'm just gonna EQ everything and then just add a little bit of width. So for the clap, what I'm gonna do is I'm just I just added a little boost at around 3K just to bring more of that snap. One thing you want to remember with a lot of these drum samples is that they're already processed. They're already been EQ'd and compressed, so there's not really much you could do to them to make them sound good other than just leveling everything, cutting out unwanted frequencies, and just making a space in between those frequencies. For this perk, what I did is I just cut out that low end, but I also did a 6 dB slope. That way it doesn't completely cut out all the low end out of the perk, but it kind of just smooths out the low end, because I don't want all those frequencies to build up and then just create like a big boom, I guess you could say. I don't want the frequencies from like 300 to 800, that boxiness, to build up. So what I'm doing is I'm just kind of smoothing it out of those percussions, and then from here what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna use Ozone Imager 2 just to add some width onto the perk. For the zap, what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna add an EQ. For this last snare, what I did is I just did the same thing, EQ, cut out the low, cut out a little bit of the highs. The crash, I do the same thing to all my instruments. I just add ozone, add some width, and then I EQ it, because what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna send everything to the drum bus, and then on that drum bus is where I'm gonna do the majority of the mixing. Depending on your personal style, what you could do is you could route these two into another bus, let's say bus 20, and then route this bus back into the drums. I EQ both hi-hats together. And then a cool trick I like doing is I like adding tremolo onto my hi-hats. Just give it a little bit of move, give it a little bit more depth. So you could really hear them just bounce back left and right. Gives it like a dope feel to the hi-hats. For the drums, all I'm gonna be doing, for the drums, what I'm gonna be using is I'm gonna be using Dynamics Diablo plugin, the free version that they gave out. This is pretty dope to add on the drums. If you haven't seen my last video where I reviewed both Diablo and Vortex, I'll put the link down below in the description so you could check out that plugin. These plugins are really good, especially this free version here. So I added this EQ, just the vintage EQ, just to cut out about 50 hertz, add a little bit of more punch in between the 200 hertz, add a little bit more of those mid frequencies just to bring out that clap a little bit, and then as well as boost the high end a little bit. From here, what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna add a drum bus compressor. I'm just gonna use this stock Logic Pro X compressor. For these loops, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to add a free plugin that I got from SoftTubes. What I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna add some reverb, and depending on the feel of the song, it's honestly gonna depend on what type of reverb you use. But the way I like doing reverbs is I like busing everything into one reverb. So for example, I put bus 25, and honestly this one works perfect for this beat. It honestly just depends on what type of feel of the beat, and I usually just check on the clap, kind of just go based off the delay and if it'll fit the vibe of the beat, because I don't want the reverb to be too noticeable, especially on these beats. I kind of just want it to barely be there. I do add a little bit of reverb onto the kick, not a lot. From here, it's just up to you whether you want to add delay, effects, automation, just different types of stuff. But for the most part, this is how you mix your beats using nothing but stock Logic Pro X plugins as well as other free plugins. Now, if you want to get your song mixed and mastered by me, feel free to hit me up on my Instagram or on my website. Everything will be down below in the description. If you need more help mixing and mastering, whether it's vocals, beats, hit me up on Instagram. I will be starting a mentoring group where I break down everything I know from beginning to end, from starting up your home studio to setting up the equipment, free plugins, how to route everything, how to capture the best recording, as well as how to mix and master more in depth, customized to you. If you want more information on that, click the link down below and send me a message on Instagram. Now, I want to remind you to subscribe and drop a like. My name is David the Crook, and I hope to see you in the next video. Peace.